Hello friends, today we shall discuss about Plant Kingdom, Chapter 3, first year. Okay. First we shall discuss about alternation of generation in plants. Now alternation of generation is a unique phenomenon in plants. There are two generations here. One is diploid sporophytic generation, okay, which is diploid generation, okay, and a haploid gametophytic generation. Diploid sporophytic generation, haploid gametophytic generation. Now these two generations alternate with each other. Sporophyte produces spores by meiosis. Spores develop into gametophytes. Now gametophyte produces male and female gametes by the process of mitosis, which fuse to form a zygote. Zygote develops into sporophyte. Thus, gametophyte reproduces sexually because it produces gametes. Here you can see gametes fuse to form zygote, and zygote develops into embryo. Embryo develops into sporophyte. Whereas the sporophyte reproduces asexually by the means of spores. Gametophyte, sporophyte, two generations are there which alternate with each other. Gametophyte gives rise to sporophyte, sporophyte gives rise to gametophyte. Gametophyte, okay, it produces female gamete and male gamete. Both of them they fuse. Fertilization process takes place. Then zygote is formed. Zygote undergoes repeated cell divisions and further development to form embryo. Embryo develops into sporophyte. Sporophyte is diploid because it is developed from zygote. A sporophyte undergoes meiosis to produce haploid spores. Now, haploid spores, okay, they differentiate into gametophyte. Okay, that is why gametophyte is haploid because spores are haploid. Now, there are different types of life cycles in plants. They are broadly divided into haplontic type, diplontic type, and haplodiploidic type. Now, first, let's see haplontic type. Now, you know very well that gametophytic generation is haploid and sporophytic generation is diploid. Now, here, in case of haplontic life cycle, sporophytic generation is very short. Sporophyte generation is very short, and sporophyte generation is represented only by one celled zygote because zygote is the only structure which is diploid here. And there are no free living sporophytes. So sporophytes they are not free living, they are developed within the gametophyte. So they don't have free living existence. So they are totally dependent on the gametophyte. Now examples, many algae like Volvox, Spirogera, and some species of Chlamydomonas, they exhibit haplontic type of life cycle. So here main thing is sporophyte generation is extremely short. It is represented only by a diploid zygote. The second type is diploid. Okay, diplontic, sorry. The second type is diplontic. Now here the sporophyte is completely dominant. Here you can see the sporophytic generation is dominant, whereas the gametophytic generation is very short. Okay, so it is the diploid sporophyte is dominant. It is photosynthetic, means it produces the food and independent of the gametophyte. Independent of the gametophyte, but gametophyte is dependent on the sporophyte. So here the dominant phase is sporophyte and gametophyte is short-lived generation. Examples in gymnosperms and angiosperms. So in both this group of plants, sporophyte is dominant, gametophyte is dependent on sporophyte. Now the third type, haplodiploidic type. So it is an intermediate between haplontic and diplontic type of life cycle. Okay. Now here both the sporophytes and gametophytes they are multicellular. They are multicellular. But in case of haplontic life cycle, you can see that only the gametophyte is multicellular, sporophyte is unicellular. But here both the phases are multicellular. Okay, but they differ in the dominant phases. Okay, so such kind of examples means such kind of life cycle is exhibited by bryophytes and pteridophytes. These two groups of plants they exhibit haplodiploidy type of life cycle. But in pteridophytes, sporophyte is dominant. Okay, whereas in bryophytes, gametophyte is dominant. So in pteridophytes, sporophyte is dominant and gametophyte is dependent on sporophyte. And in bryophytes, gametophyte is dominant and sporophyte is dependent on the gametophyte.